legislative eggs and issues. And welcome to our legislative eggs and issues and braving the icy morning and joining us this morning. Before we kick things off, I know many of you were at Monday's gala. I want to thank you for being there. Many of you helped in so many ways, donated, gave of your time, and I again want to thank you. We had an amazing turnout of 174 people. And again, thank you guys. Many nominations this year. We had 110 nominations for our Citizens' Choice Awards. So I know a lot of you put in a lot to that, and I couldn't do it without you. So this is our first of 3 legislative eggs and issues. And I want to thank Representative Carl Newton and Senator Casey Murdoch for being here today and traveling here to be with us. So I'll go ahead and turn that over to you, Carl.
All right, thank you. It's nice to be back up here in the icy weather again. Think of anything else I'd really be doing? No, really. It's been. I say we hit the ground running. At least we have on the House side. We've already tackled some really big bills. Some. When I say big bills, or some of them are bills you just don't want to hear or mess with, but. That's not the choice you get, unless you're the floor leader. You don't get to decide what bills come that way, correct? So, as you guys know, the House of Representatives passed constitutional carry off the floor. Let me explain what I had presented to me, if I can, before everybody starts throwing rocks at me. But I mean, it is your constitutional right to have a gun and to bear arms by the United States Constitution. I prefer the method where there's training before they are carrying them down the streets and stuff like that. But that's not the bill we had. We have 2 bills, maybe 3, I guess. Dom's got one, David's got one, and then Eccles got one. Oh, 4. And then, yeah, Senator Murdoch's bill, which I prefer Senator Murdoch's, but Floor Leader Eccles, who is the head of the floor, the floor leader decides what bills are heard, okay? He decides what bills are going to be presented on the floor. So he had a bill, and it was constitutional carry. However, it did put some limitations in there. There will be no, in fact, it tightened it a little bit, I believe, President Cunningham, for the college campuses. Right now, there is no handguns that can be carried onto a college campus. That doesn't mean you couldn't carry a shotgun or a rifle, okay? But this one changed it to firearms, so there will be no firearms be able to be carried onto the college campus, okay? The other thing it did give you, as a store owner or a private business person, if you don't want anybody to have a gun in your place, if they do, right now you can just tell them to leave, okay? But this would increase it to a fine, if you so desired to push that motion that they would be fined for bringing a gun into your place. So that was the 2 increase in restrictions that it did provide. However, other than that, it does allow people to carry guns openly or concealed in other places. And unless you have domestic abuse charges, felony conviction, or any behavioral issues. Any of those things, you cannot have a gun. And so that's where that came from. Now, the bill, my other choice was the Senate bill that I'd heard about was Dom's, and it did away with all college rights. It did away with, you can carry the gun anywhere, anytime, any place. And so that's my 2 choices. Well, my third choice is Senator Murdoch's bill, which I would prefer to do, which just did away with the testing. You still had to get training and have a certificate, but you didn't have to do the testing. Did I correctly?
No, you still have to do the training and the test, but when you pass the test, that's your concealed carry.
Yeah, you don't have
Yeah,
to.
what I got rid of was sending $300 to the state
Right.
to pay for your constitutional rights.
Right. And so that I prefer, but guess what? I didn't get that choice yet. Unless you can get it out of the Senate. If you get it out of the Senate and bring it over my way, I would be happy to vote for that. But that was not the choice I've got. See, sometimes it's you pick the better of the 2 evils. And not that I don't believe that you shouldn't carry the right garment. In fact, to be honest with you folks, those contacting me by email, phone, all that kind of stuff, it was 80 to 90% pro constitutional carry. So anyway, that's just a little bit of background on that. I actually, this last week, got 3 bills out of committee. One was a cemetery bill, I believe, from constituents here in Alva. And what it does is after 75 years of no contact with the cemetery, that plot would be considered abandoned. I mean, that means no contact. The family's not contacted, they can't find them. And so after that 75 years, there'd be a notification process. They send a certified letter, publish it in the newspaper 3 weeks, that we have these plots that we could declare as abandoned. If after a year's period, so after 76 years total, then those would be considered abandoned and could be reused by the cemetery for someone else. This allows us to be better stewards of our cemetery lands, instead of having scattered graves around here and there to be able to do that. I passed 13 to 1. One of my legislators could not wrap her mind around, well, what if my grandmother lives to be 102? It's been 75 years. Does she lose her plot? No, I said, if you haven't had any contact with the cemetery for 75 years. So anyway, but so she voted against me. But other than that, it went through committee, and will be on the floor probably in the next week or 2. Okay. Second bill that I passed was another constituent request, and what that one would allow would. Right now, on commercial vehicles, you have to have a pretty large fleet before you can get all your tags at one time. Okay, I minimized that down to three commercial vehicles. If you have 3 commercial vehicles or more, you can get all your license tagged at one time. What that does is it saves them from driving back and forth, and then half the time you forget, oh my gosh, it's overdue. But this way, you can do it all in January. You can pick the month, whichever month would be best for you. I did it off a constituent's request, but the Chamber of Commerce, State Chamber of Commerce liked it so much, they said, we support it. So I got their blessings, which doesn't always happen, but anyway, it was nice. But it sailed through committee. Third one is one that is a personal issue to me. It's kind of a Northwest Oklahoma issue. I don't know if we're pushing it. I think I can get off the floor. I don't know what the Senate side will do with it. But on all the schools that are off the formula, which is Northwest Oklahoma, it eliminated the carryover. If you have a large carryover for your school, you're penalized up to 15% or something like that, and it would do away with that. And what they would do, you would say, well, you're off the formula, you're not getting state money anyway. Well, they cut into your transportation aid. Right now, all schools get some transportation aid that I'm aware of, unless you know of any that don't. I think they all do. And so what they do, there's a instructional part and a transportation part. Well, if per student, if we're above a certain level, we get no aid for our instructional part. In fact, last year, Alva schools got zero. How much money did you get for the teacher pay raise?
We got $400,000 for foundation aid salaries.
Okay, so we got some,
Yes, we got some.
but not near enough,
No.
right? And so my goal here is to be able to carry some more of that money over, right? If you're going to cost you more money next year, you'd like to have a little more money to carry over so you could do that. So that was my goal. And I did get it out of committee and passed 13 to 0, so it'll be on the floor in the next few weeks. I ran another bill, but it was just a cleanup bill for the Department of Corrections. It was nothing there. That's mainly what's going on. There's another bill, House Bill 2621 came out this week. It dealt with private money being given to public schools and private schools. Right now the cap is $3 million. We upped that cap to $30 million. So if you have a private donor that gives to your school, they get a tax break on their money, tax credit for that amount of money that they gave to you. But why not give them to education and help them? And so that's the main things I've got. I'm gonna turn it over to Senator and then we can ask questions. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, we have enough time.
You got time?
How are y'all doing today? Yeah, Pearl's right, it's, you know, the building down there is alive and it reflects the attitudes within the building. And the year that we were $1.3 million hole in the budget, when I walked into that building, you could feel it. You could feel the dread, you could feel the tension. And quite frankly, it was miserable. This year, you can feel the hope, you can feel the excitement. I'm excited about Kevin Stitt. I had breakfast with him yesterday, and I love what he's wanting to do. I love his vision for the state. I'm excited about it. I hope we can get it accomplished. I think we'd be on our way to turn this around, get us on the right path. I had to sit down with my EA yesterday and say, how are we going to do this? This week was crazy. Well, the last 2 weeks have been crazy. Just revolving door to my office, and some people I had to apologize to because I just couldn't see them. I just said, you got to come back tomorrow. And then I had to just squeeze them in. But yeah, it's crazy, but it's a good crazy. It's you can feel the hope, you can feel the excitement, the positive energy at the Capitol. So, and I think it's the new leadership. We've got Kevin Stitt. We have Greg Treat is new as a pro tem on the Senate side. We still have McCall on the House side. But I think it's the new leadership, new vision. And one thing Greg wanted to do was pro tem Treat. Get that one right, you may not like me just calling him Greg. But one thing he wanted to do was set a target goal for the Senate. Set our priorities. And I guess in the past, it was more of scattergun, shoot at a target, and then draw your target around where the bullet hits. And he wanted it more precise and starting off this session with our goals as the Senate, what we want to accomplish. And I thought that was a great idea. I mean, that gives me a chance to come out and talk with you all and say, these are our goals. And then at the end of the session, come back and say, this is what we accomplished. And for me, that's accountability. Did I do what I told you that we were going to do? And that's kind of the goals we set was 4. We didn't, like I said, in the past, it was a scattergun deal. We set 4 goals, 4 priorities that we are going to push in the Senate. The first one is budget transparency. I know a lot of people, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a legislative budget transparency office, per se. And I've had a lot of people say, well, you're just making government bigger. Yes and no, but I can tell you the 4 years I have been there, the numbers that we have gotten from different agencies have not been right. And when we have to budget off of numbers that's not correct, we wind up with $30 million in the healthcare department that they didn't do. We wind up with different recs around the state. We've got to have the correct numbers coming into us so we can budget correctly. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because it makes me mad. Our first special session last summer was to get $230 million to the Department of Health because they were short, they needed it, and we had to get that money to them. We go back into special session. Fight all the way. You went with us. It was horrible. I feel sorry for Carl. You know, my freshman year, I whined and complained about drinking water from the fire hose and how tough it was, and just whine and complain around. And then Carl comes in his freshman year, and you had a heck of a freshman start, didn't you? It was tough. But what irritates me is, you know, Oklahoma has a balanced budget. We don't have a printing press down in the basement there, just printing out more money. And so everything has to balance. Well, I'm really mad about the $30 million right at the end that we had to send to them because there's $30 million short. Well, what happened was we went to County Roads and Bridges, took the money from them, and gave it to the healthcare department. You know, guys, we're all in this together. Every agency down there, we're all in this together. And when we have, as legislators, when we have to find $30 million to give to an agency because they're short, we've got to take it from another agency, which puts them in a jam. And just to add to the top of this deal, come back, they didn't need it. They found their $30 million that they were short. And that was really salt in the wound when they didn't need it. So this office that we're going to create will help us audit these agencies and dig into their budget so we have good numbers to budget off of. So that's the first priority. Second priority is government accountability. And that is giving the governor the power to hire and fire agency heads. We're gonna maintain the boards, but what I've seen in the last 4 years was there was no accountability with agency heads. And how many in this room, and maybe more in this room than normal, but how many in this room has ever voted for an agency head? Anyone? Yeah, I've never voted for an agency head. Well, I guess I've in committee. No, I didn't. I voted for the board. I'll take that back. Never voted for an agency head. Zero accountability there. If Carl and I mess up, and we're doing things that you do not like, you're sending us off. These agency heads, they're not on the ballot. These agency heads, the year we $1.3 million, cut the senior program. So my phone and Carl's phone would ring, but he wasn't in office at that time, I don't think, were you? But they play political games because they can get away with it because there's no accountability. What we're going to do is the buck stops at the governor's office. If these agencies are not giving the services to the constituents, to Oklahomans, the way they should, they're held accountable to the governor because the governor is held accountable to you guys. There is accountability. So we are going to push that. Sorry. Oop. I just lied to that person. So text saying I'm on my way. I'm going to get later. It'll be a while. We are going to protect the investment that we have made in education last year. Carl is down there. We reached out and, you know, for Republicans who don't believe in high taxes, we voted for the largest tax increase in state history to fund education. We're going to protect that investment. We're going to add to it. You know, my consultant, when I ran for this seat, about a year ago, about a year ago, You know, I voted for the A-plus plan in special session during this race, and my consultant said, you are the only Republican candidate that I ever had that voted for the largest tax increase in state history in the middle of the Republican primary. I did that because I'd been there for 3 years. I saw the wreck Oklahoma was in. We had to do something. I had seen the numbers coming in. We had to have it. So we made tough votes. We're going to protect the work that we did last year, and we're going to protect that investment we made. We're going to keep adding to it. And I hate to pull one from Governor Stitt, but we're going to work to be top 10 in education across the board, whether it's teacher pay, whether it's testing, whether it's classroom size. We're going to get there. And I say this all the time, but you know how you eat an elephant, don't you? It's one bite at a time. It's, you know, we're not going to snap our fingers and be there, but we are getting on the right path to get there. The last one, number 4, is criminal justice reform. Now, I think people are responsible for their actions, and I think they need to be held responsible for their actions. But in what I have seen in my 4 years, the studies, the people that come talk to me, my 4 years worth of experience, I think the key to criminal justice reform is mental health. I think mental health is our issue. I think mental health is the number one reason our prisons are overcrowded. We have people in prison, not so much for drugs and that sort of thing. They're in prison because of their addiction. It is because of drugs, but they're not there because of the crime of drugs. They're there because of the addiction. They're there because they broke into Carl's house and stole his family jewels. They're there because they stole Steve's pickup. They robbed a liquor store to feed the addiction. I think if we give money to mental health and address our mental health problems in the state, we will fix our criminal justice reform. I think we will fix our overcrowding in this state. Those are the 4. And I've got to throw this out here because I'm happy to be at Northwestern. I want to say we, and I know Carl's on board with me, but as far as on the Senate side, I am going to push for a raise for college employees. Whenever I was campaigning in Alva a year ago, I was with Steve. And he told me that you have employees here that the teachers at Alva High School makes more money than college professors here. I about fell over. What's the number? I talked to Tim Fountain this week on the numbers. 27 million. What would fund that?
7.5% raise would be 38.5.
38.5 million. In my mind, that's not a big ask this year. Now, with that being said, our correction workers need raises, but I think we need to start. We need to start somewhere, and I'm gonna be pushing for colleges. You've heard about the $600 million that we're going to have extra this year. It's not going to be $600 million. I hate to be the guy that throws the dart at that balloon, but we're not going to have $600 million. I think we'll find out later on this month, the 20th, is when they'll come back and certify exactly what we're going to have. I think the number's going to be closer as far as what we're going to have the House and the Senate to appropriate $150 to $180 million. and that's because of apportionments. No, I take that back. That's not because of apportionments. Because we're about $1 billion over on the revenue coming in. After apportionments, what we get is about 600, but then we have obligations before we got to take care of before we can start appropriating money to different agencies. And that would be ad valorem reimbursements, that's other obligations, insurance, that's obligations that we have before we actually get down to our actual discretionary income in the state that we can go and do what we want to do with it. And I'm just FYI for y'all's information, Oklahoma takes in somewhere around $24 billion into the state. Last year we appropriated 7.2. That's around $17 billion of revenue coming in the state that comes straight off the top goes to these agencies. That's another reason we need accountability at these agencies. They get 2/3 of the revenue coming into the state goes straight to that agency. That doesn't get appropriated, it just goes straight to there. And there are, I'm not throwing all agency heads under the bus. Actually, I have a bill that gives the governor authority, but Pro Tem does too, kind of like Carl says. The floor leader and the Pro Tem gets to hear their bills. I had a couple agency heads come into my office because, "Are you mad at me?" I'm like, "No, I'm not mad at you." But they were good guys. They were running their agencies right. And we have some agencies that are ran correctly. And I feel sorry for those agencies because we've got into rewarding bad behavior in this state. And I don't want to say that, I don't know the word to use, but rewarding behavior that's not feasible. So what we've done since I've been there, in a big budget deficits, is if an agency has a revolving fund carryover, we would go in there and sweep their funds and give it to the agency that's struggling. So the agency that's taking care of their money, running their agency tight, gets punished. And the agency that's running out of money, that's not fiscally sound, is getting rewarded. And we've got to change that. And the two agency heads that was in my office runs a tight ship. They do a good job at that agency. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I don't believe the governor will do the same with that authority. He's not going to go in there and just kick everybody out and replace them. He's going to go in there and analyze what kind of job have they done as the agency head. And if they've done a good job, more than likely he's going to keep them. Because one thing, you cannot replace experience. I had the state auditor in my office, and she convinced me that she can do these audits. And the reason she convinced me that she's able to do these performance audits and these state audits is because she sees both sides of it. You get an outside group come in and audit, they don't know the backstory. They don't know everything that's going on with this agency. The state auditor does. They know where to look. They know all the little hidey holes. So, there are agencies that do a good job. There are agencies that I don't think we need to replace their agency heads. DOC for one. A few years ago, DOC, Departments of Corrections, was in a wreck. They were in a wreck. We've got Joe Alva in there now, and he's slowly turning that place around. And I guess I can say I would be disappointed if the governor makes that change, because he's getting the train turned around back on the right track. And to stop that progress and switch horses in the middle of the stream right now would I think would be a poor management decision on that front. I'm going to move on to a couple of bills. So I filed 50 bills this year, and kind of like Carl, all my bills, pretty much all of my bills come from constituent requests. I do town halls in basically all the towns that I have in this Senate district. I was busy this summer. But with visiting with constituents, that's where I come up with these ideas. So I've ran 2 in committee so far. So the next 2 weeks is going to be pretty busy for me getting those others out. The one, my favorite one of the year, passed out of committee yesterday, 12-1. And I need to go talk to that senator because he's nuts in the head for not voting for this bill. But it is, in my opinion, the most important legislation I'm running this year. It is making the ribeye steak a state steak. Can I get an amen? Come on. When I started this bill, it was after the year that Carl and I have been through, 2 special sessions, just a horrible year, horrible session, horrible 2 years. I thought, let's have a little fun. Let's lighten the mood a little bit. So I filed this bill. In defending it, when people are saying, well, it's a silly bill, it's a do-nothing bill, we've got better things to do, I took offense to that. Because then you dig down into what this bill is. What is this bill? It promotes agriculture. Agriculture is taking it on the chin in this state. We don't see it up here because that's who we are. We know we need agriculture to survive. The shoe store downtown, it's the farmers and ranchers coming in buying those shoes. And you guys probably feel it when wheat prices go down or cattle prices go down. That's who drives. You get outside of Oklahoma City and Tulsa, that's who drives the economy out here in rural Oklahoma is agriculture. It's a way to wave the flag for agriculture. It's a way we are number 3 in the nation in beef cow numbers. We have 5.1 million head of mama cows in this state. This is just a way to pat them on the back and say, good job, you're doing a good job, and wave the flag for agriculture and promote an agricultural product. Now, on the economic side, I told you I dug into this on how this is going to affect. Economically, it's going to benefit Oklahoma City and Tulsa much more than it benefits our district. Because it's going to give an opportunity for the restaurants to promote a product that they sell. Now what they do with that opportunity is totally up to them. But when I first ran for office for representative seat, I had a guy walk up to me and he said, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to get me? I was kind of taken aback because up here we're pretty self-sufficient. We don't ask people for anything. We take care of ourselves. And I thought about it for a second. You know what I'm going to get you? I'm going to try to bring you in an environment that you can be successful on your own. He goes, what? But that's what I see that my job is to bring an environment that you can be successful and on your own, to bring you opportunities. Now what you do with the opportunities is totally up to you, but I want those opportunities for you. People say the steak bill is a silly bill, a do-nothing bill. I see it as it's a way to bring an opportunity for a restaurant to sell a product. We have the steak meal. Actually, yesterday I said, I think I'm going to open up a restaurant called Oklahoma and have a steak meal, have the steak, and we can all follow it up with the steak, vegetables, dessert, and watermelon. But with that, I'll shut off there because I could ramble on forever, can't I, Carl? And we'll take questions.
I'm going to make two quick comments. First of all, in the next, just so you know what's coming down the pike, in the next week or two, you're going to see a lot of marijuana bills. This marijuana commission, we had joint commission between the Senate and the House.
What kind of commission?
Marijuana, joint. We're on party here. Straight up. All right, anyway, they're bringing back their recommendations. The only thing I like, the reason I like this one, neither group's happy. Neither group's happy, so it's probably fairly reasonable. And so we will have that, and then the second one, this passed off the House committee that anything that's registered meat or beef product or chicken product, something like that, cannot be genetically made. You know, they're working on that genetically stuff, lab made in a lab. And so those bills did come off committee. Two of those things that came up, so while you was talking about it. Questions? Gosh, we did a great job.
I have to say, I'm still have steam off the state bill. You know, you've heard Congressman Ortiz rhetoric, and now the guy running for president, the senator from New Jersey, Cory Booker. Say beef cows or just cows in general are destroying our environment, and then Ortiz's new Green Deal wants to get rid of cows by 2030. And vegans, it's crazy, but we're an ag state. This kind of stiffs arm that. So no, we're not going to do that. We're going to celebrate the beef industry. Okay, come on, you guys got some questions. If you don't have any questions, Carl and I is going to sit up here and tell jokes. Yeah, there's some hands.
Any news on creating more revenue streams for the cities? We're dependent on sales tax. They've talked about bills to add ad valorem to the cities so that we can increase our tax base.
You read into a lot of.
So there is a bill for the police and fire that is running. I don't know where that one's at.
That's on your side, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to give the police and fire the ability to use ad valorem taxes. I have not heard, I don't have an update on that one.
Ad valorem, sometimes what they worry about, what I'm hearing, okay, is that if you guys don't want to increase ad valorem in the cities, the farmers around you worry that it's going to increase out. And so we keep getting pushback there.
Well, the other pushback you're going to have is going to come from education. Because schools get about 80% of that ad valorem money. And depending on how they write that bill, there's going to be some pushback there too. But I don't know what committee it's in. I don't have any updates.
I think the important thing on any of those, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Go ahead.
Is not so much it's just to have that tool in the toolbox, whether it's a tool for a different revenue stream or whether it's a tool to have, this state question 788 was one thing where the voters in Woods County were very clear on what they thought about, that bill but, the state is passed through the whole state. We have to do what we have to do. But
I
there are a lot of local control issues that I think whether at the county level or at the local level, we could do better for our constituents without some of it.
Well, and I tried, and I got beat up. I did file a bill, but leadership's not hearing it, about giving the counties the option on whether they wanted marijuana in their county, whether they had a dry county or a wet county. I guess in this instance, if you wanted to smoke or non-smoke. But it's not being heard. And in that, when I was writing that bill, one thing that came up, and I'm still going to work on as far as revenue coming to the cities and mainly to the cities, is I want to try to get some of this marijuana money, tax money, out to the local municipalities. Because you guys are the ones that's going to have to deal with the effects. And in all the research where there's a dispensary, crime goes up. But not only does crime go up, property values around that dispensary goes down. And so you're going to feel the effect from tax money coming in, but then your police department's going to be working harder on the other side. And I'm going to, since my bill didn't run, and I'm going to kind of use that as a crowbar in leadership meetings, we need to get some money to help pay. And I think the last I read, that money, the tax money coming off of marijuana is going to education, or drug addiction, and, healthcare department and other, but none of it's going to the local police departments, to the local counties that's going to feel some hits on this.
Mine's really more of a comment than a question. I think there certainly is some opportunity for moderation on appointment of agency heads. Some probably do need to be appointed, but I would certainly urge the governor to look back and research his Oklahoma history to see why the board system developed. For example, in higher education, presidents changed about every time the governor changed with political favors, and so I think there is some lack of accountability in that model also.
Well, and I have not read Senator Treat's bill. I know what my bill said, but Senator Treat has a bill on my bill. And I haven't read his bill. So I know he's looking at I think it's top 7 agencies, top 9. The top 9 agencies spend 91% of our budget. The other 111 agencies divide up the rest of it. But he's looking at the top agencies that spends most of our budget.
And probably education, Common Ed would be one of the larger ones. And that
Yeah, they
would
are. They're right behind Department of Health. But we elect
this.
the school superintendent or state superintendent, and my philosophy in life is not broke, don't fix it. And in my 4 years, I have not had one complaint on higher ed and how that's being done, that process.
I thought you were going to say
No comment on Common Ed.
Yeah. I agree totally with you. Last year, they tried to make a lot of the boards advisory boards. Has anybody served on an advisory board? Yeah. Well, all you are is a PR person for everybody around you, because you can vote something unanimously, and if the head doesn't like it, he does it anyway. And so I think the boards need to be able to have their teeth to be able to do things. And Todd Holder's been big on pushing me on the department. He's on the DOC board, and it makes a big impact there. And so I think the boards need to have a function and have teeth with what they are able to deal with, because otherwise, if you're an advisory board, okay, and you got an agency head that answers to who? The governor? Why did the agency even have to listen to a state representative or state senator? You can't do anything to me. You can't do anything, And so that's why we still need the boards that have power, and that they're also from our different areas, so we can have an impact on those boards.
If I can answer that question, it's because the Senate will approve or deny that appointment, and we'll pump the brakes a little bit.
He's talking about the fight we're having right now between the Senate and the House.
Actually, I have to say this. So the 4 years I have been there, this year, we have gotten along, and this is across the board. Carl and I have a good relationship. I have a good relationship with all of my representatives in the Senate district.
Yes.
But prior to that, Senate did not talk to the House did not talk to the Senate, and that went all the way up to pro tem and speaker. They did not speak, they did not communicate unless they had to. And like I said, we're in this together. And right now, we've got super max number of Republicans down there. And I've told the pro tem this. I said, my constituents, your constituents, Oklahomans, they don't see the line between the House and the Senate. They see Republicans. And if we don't get the job done, they're going to send us home. We've got to work together. And by us working together, case in point, I'm going after an agency hard. They've been lying to us. They've been, in my mind, manipulating numbers. And I've got some bills out there to pull the reins up on them. Well, they go over to the chairman on the Senate, or on the House side, trying to kill my bills, while they're telling me, yeah, we're going to work on this, we're going to work with you. And they're going behind my back, trying to kill them on the House side. Well, guess what? That chairman and I are friends. He calls me and tells me what's going on. By us, just communications, being able to talk back and forth, that's not going to be able to happen. And let these agency heads and the liaisons work us against each other because we communicate. And that's one thing this year I see that's different than the previous 4 years that I've been there. The other thing I should have led off with this. The bills that are hitting right now, the bills that are in committee right now, the bills that was filed, that is, in my mind, and I want to convey this to you all, what that is that is starting a conversation. That does not mean that's what's going to go down in law. It's starting a conversation. And these bills that's filed right now, that doesn't mean that's what it's going to look like when it's done with the process. We have a very good process, vetting process. And 99% of the time when that bill goes to the governor's desk and he signs it, it's a much better bill than it was at this time in the process. Because the House talks about it. They amend it. They work on it. It comes to the Senate. We amend it. We work on it. And it's a lot better product once it goes through the system. Now, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's slow. But it's a good process. And right now, the bills that's out there is going to be vetted. And I almost promise you, what you're seeing today and what you're hearing being talked about today, when Carl and I come back at the last exit issues, that bill's going to be modified. For example, the constitutional carry. I fully expect that there will be education, training in that constitutional carry bill. It's not going to look exactly like it is right now today.
Other questions? Yes,
so, long-term care has a bill going through, but it seems like this is moving pretty good. What do you, I know, remember last time I was supportive of that. What do you think about it?
I'm in favor of it. Because, I mean, yeah, I'm getting all those emails.
I bet you are.
Wanting to make sure, what we're going to do is make sure that we make the most of the match that we get from the federal government too, right?
Oh my.
Yeah, because we're leaving federal dollars on the table. And if you can get $2, if I can say you give me $1 and I'll give you 2 back, how many times would you do that? Do that, right? Well, what he alluded to is that we've been in a shortfall all this time, and we don't have any money to give them $1, you can't do it. But we've got a little bit now, so we'd like to get that 2-to-1 to help our elderly and those that are in the nursing home and to benefit them too. So, and it's just we need to take care of our people that can't take care of themselves.
On the Senate side, and I'm not going to speak for the House, I think that bill has a lot of momentum. I do not see an issue on the Senate side. One other thing I want to bring up, and I'm starting back to, we start conversations to try to move the ball. One conversation I'm started is on Medicaid expansion. The governor alluded to it. The first I heard him talk about it, he did a press release saying, yeah, we're going to look at this. Then in the State of the State, he kind of pulled the reins back, and I've continued the conversation with some other senators. The issue with expanding Medicaid that worries me as a state and as a rep and a senator that has gone through the 4 years I've gone through is, what worries me is in year 9, year 10, when the government pulls that money back. And then we're stuck there with a big meal ticket we can't afford.